We have two representations of a list of courses, one represented as a plain old list and the other one represented as a grid. So what we'd like to be able to do is toggle between the two. Typically we want to see one or the other. And so what we'll do is that we'll add in the parent course list, we'll add a link here that will allow us to change between the two. And as we click on the different links, we'll navigate and display only the course list, or we'll navigate and show the course grid. Let's take a look at that, how we would possibly do that. So to accomplish that, we need to implement the routing mechanism. For that, we'll need to install a new library, and the library is called the React Routing library. It's called the React Routing DOM library. React Router DOM. Right, so let's install that. Also, let's not forget to put the save at the end, so that when it deploys in a remote server, it will be installed as a dependency. So that's going to install it. We can refer to it from the top, from wherever we want to use it. So let's go in our top level component, which is the whiteboard. So let's go to whiteboard, and in whiteboard we're going to import the library from React Router DOM. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to load a couple of things here. We'll load the browser router. We'll call it router locally. We'll also load link, and we'll load route. All right, so what we'll do is that we're going to declare at the top the router, and this will give us the mechanism of being able to navigate and display certain components when a URL changes. So we're going to have some links, and the links are going to modify the URL, and depending on how the URL modifies, we want to show certain things here and there. All right, so what we're going to do here is that we're going to declare a couple of links, right? And we'll say a link, and we're going to have here a URL, right, that says if you see the we're going to declare a grid, whether we want to see a grid or a list. So we'll say course grid. We'll just say grid. We'll say grid, and another link that prints to a list. Right? And if we go back and see how it renders, notice that we have it down up here. We might want to put a break between the two. There we go. All right, excellent. So right now, if we click on it, nothing really happens, right? And for this to function, we're going to go into the course list, and what we'll do is that we'll declare a couple of routes and say that, take a look at the URL. If the URL says a list, then we want this component. If it says grid, then we want this component. So to do that, we use the route component, right? So we'll import the route here. So we'll say the route from React Router DOM. And then we're going to wrap this and say, well, I don't want to display this all the time. Instead, we're going to display a route. So we'll say route, and route, we can say that if the path is the following, if the path is list, then we want to display the following component. We say we want the course list component. Right. Instead, if the route instead is path is grid, then we want to display a different component. So this would be course grid component. Okay. Oops. There we go. Oops, did I not close this? There we go. All right, so let's go back here and oops, property map, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, so it's complaining that without passing any data, and indeed that's one of the limitations of using component. So instead, we're going to be using a different version of this where we can have a function where we can pass data to this, right? So we can say and grab the course list here, right? Just keep that and paste it in here, and so where we can pass arguments to it. So instead of the component, we'll use this version of the render function. So we'll say render here, and this will be a function. So we'll say function that is going to return this component, this grid component, and we'll paste it right here. There we have. So notice that if we click on list, we are rendering the list. If we click on the grid, now we can toggle between the two, right? Passing the information to either one of the components.